Great. And so happy to be here with Jackie Barros, VanCampen. You still like all those last names in there, Jackie? Is that
I should just go just VanCampen.
Ooh.
The rest of it is, we can just,
Yeah.
I only use it for legal documents.
Yes, yes. Well, I have many names I can relate. I'm so thankful that you're here, and especially for this conversation series that I felt like I wanted to offer, just feeling like things have in some ways just gotten more intense over this year, right? And
Yes.
before we came on here, I feel like, yeah, really what I'm wanting to talk about with this series, and really even today a lot, is mental health and how we're all, how are we doing in our mental health, and what can we be doing to take care of ourselves and each other? How much can we take care of each other with mental health? And even just thoughts on people feeling potentially suicidal more than ever right now, even though that's something that's been a presence in the world. So yeah, I'm just so honored to have you here because you have so much to offer on those topics for so many reasons. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on how things are feeling right now to you being in the world?
I feel that personally for me, I've had a huge transition, energetic shifts, I would say, in the last, I want to say maybe month or so. In the beginning of the year, I was just feeling like bleh, and then COVID hit, and then like social injustices and all this stuff, everything like that's been going on, right? Politics, and it was just like I felt like I was suffocating, and I felt this intense rage and anger, and I wanted to do, like all these different things that I was so caught up in, and I could feel it was really affecting my mental health. I wasn't being myself. I wasn't connecting with myself. I was so about like, what is happening in the world? Let me go jump in with everybody else instead of like taking a step back and being like, okay, who am I in all of this? What is my contribution to all of this? And how do I need to show up in the world?
Mm.
And when I asked myself those questions, it must have been like around August, I would say. Like I really started to really dig deeper. And I realized that there's so much disconnect between the heart and the mind. And we allow ourselves to be taken, right, by this wave that's happening in the world, that's happening in our country. And not to say that we shouldn't be aware of what's happening, but I also feel that when we are so involved with the news, the media, everything that seems to be happening out there, I feel that it creates a sense of helplessness and hopelessness.
Mm.
And when we feel hopeless about the future, when we feel hopeless about, when we look at the job, people losing their jobs and people getting sick and all these different things, we start to lose a sense of hopelessness, and we start to lose a sense of purpose for ourselves in the world. And when we stop living from a sense of purpose, then I truly feel like that affects our mental health. Because then you start asking yourself, what am I here for? What am I doing on this planet? Like that was my question. Like for months this year, I kept going back to like, what am I doing here? Do I even want to be here? Like I even started to question myself, like, do I even want to be part of this? I feel like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And but it's because I had lost connection with my heart. I had lost connection with myself. And once I realized that, I shut everything down, and I told myself, like, okay, you got to come back to what matters, and you got to come back to who you are outside of all this stuff that's happening. And what I discovered, or what I was reminded of by my spirit guides, by, my inner wisdom, whatever, is that I am love. We are all love, right? Love is the ultimate medicine. And if I'm a part not a part of, but a part separated from this knowing of myself as love, then what am I really contributing to the planet?
Mm.
And that helped shift like my energy, helped me shift how I perceive myself, how my relationships with society, and who I get to be on this planet.
Mm.
And it helped me feel a sense of purpose again. And ever since then, I don't think about what am I doing here? I don't have this feeling of like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be here.
Ah, ah, I love that. And that clarity that maybe we could see that everything that we're doing could be an expression of our love and the love that we are. Yeah. And then I'm thinking about like our practices, or even curious about what you find helps you stay in that and be in that awareness and energy of love, right?
Yeah.
And to and in all the specific ways, whether it's with our work or with our family or with ourselves, with how we respond to the world.
Hmm.
Yeah, but do you have any things that you currently find are really, really helping you be in that, or have helped you make that shift? It sounds like I already hear it has been about just tuning more within, it sounds like, and to look for more of the guidance and the wisdom within, and like in a spiritual sense, right? Um, yeah, anything you want to share on ways you like to do that, or some of what's really helping you do? Mm.
Yeah. So, obviously, I think it's important that there's three things, right? There's the spiritual, there's the physical, and there's the emotional bodies, right? So, everything, if you're in alignment with those things, then you can flow through life with more ease, regardless of what's happening, right? I mean, like my husband just got, he's been on the chopping block. He's been with this company for 31 years, and he keeps getting these layoff notices that keep being postponed, and then now they postpone it until January, but now he's only worked part-time. And so it's kind of like we're missing, like now we're going to start missing half of his salary, right? So that could have been something that could have easily stressed me out, and I could have been completely out of my mind about it. And instead, because I feel so energized within myself, like
Mm.
I start to look at this as, okay, what else is possible now? What else can create? And I went from being someone who hasn't been able to dream to someone who all of a sudden has had huge capacity for dreaming. And it's in the last month or so.
Yeah.
And so, I think one of the things that I've done this year, besides my spiritual practice, communicating with my guides, I do a morning and evening chanting. I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So these things have helped me. So that's on the spiritual level. But on the physical level and emotional level, I have to say I need to get more physical in there.
Mm.
But I've worked with a therapist this year
Mm.
on healing trauma issues and doing somatic work. And that has been a bulk of my healing journey this year,
Yeah.
has been working with a professional,
Mm.
someone who really understands, not you know what I mean? Like she's not just a conventional therapist. It's not just a talk therapy, but she's a holistic therapist. So she really helped me kind of dive back into the recesses of my shadow side,
Ah.
things in my life that even the suicidal thoughts that I've had for so many years, dealing with my daughter who also last year, exactly a year ago, had a brush with suicide where she overdosed on over the counter pain medication because she was so depressed. And just really seeing my relationship with my children, how these things that I hold within, like it's so generational, right? Like I'm not the only person in my family who's had suicidal thoughts.
Mm.
My mom has dealt with depression. I have a lot of family members who have dealt with depression. And so now it's like I see my daughter dealing with the same thing. And But as I'm learning to work even more deeply on myself, not just by myself, but with someone who can guide me there,
Mm.
I'm seeing how I'm being able to help my daughter because I'm not so attached to having to manage her emotions or having to manage how she feels. Because as a parent, right, you feel responsible for how your children are feeling. You want to fix it for them. You want them to feel a certain way. You don't want them to feel pain. And so being able to work on those same aspects that I have within myself,
Mm.
I have a huge avoidance personality issue. I haven't been diagnosed, but I know like it's something I struggle with, and
Mm.
I see that in my daughter, and so she's this mirror for me, right? So as I'm healing myself, I'm passing on that healing to her.
Yes, yes. That's so deep and beautiful. And I feel like what you're expressing too, and this has been in my awareness about things like taking care of our mental health, is that it's nice to be doing the kind of the work to look at what's beneath the feelings and what's some of the cause of the feelings, and then to do what we can to take care of ourselves. And that includes things like taking the prescribed meds, right, if that's something that is offered, which I try to be really honoring of. Um, and I feel so aware that it's important to also bring in other things that we can do to right to take care of some of the reason for those feelings, even if the meds can help soothe us, right? Even just so that it could get to the point where we can, benefit even more from talk therapy or use other approaches that can be helpful. So yeah, I'm just curious about the holistic approach, and then yeah, that idea, like you're saying, when we're doing our own healing work, is really a lot of how we're still going to help the people that we're even concerned about, right? Like our children.
Mhm.
How much
Yes.
we take care of other people's feelings. I definitely been looking at that, and how much, because we care so much, but often when we try to do that, we don't help them, and then we kind of get tangled up along the way. So I love that your clarity and your own experience has helped you keep making it about your self growth and self care and self love as one of
Yeah.
the ways to help, be ready to help her, whatever that looks like. Uh,
I want to just mention something because you brought up medication, and I know there's so much stigma around medication, myself included.
yeah.
Like I used to have a lot of stigma around it of like, oh my gosh, what if if I ever had to get my kids on medication, what does this mean? What does this mean about me? What does this mean about, am I not trying everything else that I could be trying? And so you go into this like making yourself wrong for things. But I was just having a conversation with my daughter a couple of nights ago because it was coming up on the 1 year anniversary. And I was asking her, like, what do you feel like within this last year? What do you feel has changed for you? Because she's going to be 16 in December. So at the time she was 14 when this happened. Um, and she was telling me, she goes, one of the things that so what was the icing on the cake was she and her boyfriend broke up.
Mm.
But she told me, she goes, I didn't want to tell anybody that happened because I didn't want anybody to look at me and say, oh, you're only doing this because this happened.
Yeah.
She goes, people don't understand that like mental health it's so much deeper than
Yeah.
this iceberg thing or this one event that happened, right? And so she's like, I've been experiencing sadness for a long time. Like it started when I was in 6th grade. So, and so we start talking about hormones
Mm.
because, 7th grade is what most girls usually start their periods, right? That's a really tough time for middle schoolers. Um, and so she is on medication right now. She's on a low dose of antidepressant medication,
Mm.
and she feels that it has really helped balance it. So, I believe that there could be chemical imbalances, right, caused by hormonal imbalance. There's spiritual things maybe
Yeah.
happening. There's generational stuff that could happen. There's could be trauma. So to say that it's just one specific thing and not look at the whole
Yes.
picture can be quite dangerous, I feel.
And that it really goes with that idea of a more holistic approach perhaps means looking at the whole picture, right? That
Yes.
there's a whole picture, and the various levels that could be part of why we're feeling a certain way, and then the more that we can care for ourselves on those levels, or what, just be aware of that, is going to help, right? Help us ourselves and in understanding those around us who are struggling.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think when I hear the conversation about normalizing mental health, right, or mental health challenges, I feel like part of what I would like to help bring through is that it's a very normal part of human experience, right? For most of us to have, or a lot of us to have a lot of those feelings and emotions, and even to slip into those patterns. And so I think that's my only concern sometimes with like diagnosis, is if it might get someone stuck in a label, right, about them,
Mhm.
instead of maybe a label about their current experience, right? And that could also be very normal, even if it feels extreme and is even feeling like a disorder, right? So I
Yeah.
just, yeah, have a heart for wanting to help us all see that so many of us actually have those feelings too, right? And I think just those
Mhm.
perspectives help to just realize that you're not the only one, that so many people, especially maybe like right now, I kind of get the feeling are really challenged and struggling with things like their mental health, and even things like
Yeah.
suicidal. And so I have a sense that maybe just that awareness could help to just realize we're not alone, right? And
Yeah.
people who are moving through it and finding ways to get through it, right? So,
I was talking to a friend of mine just this morning about, she was saying that when this whole pandemic thing happened, she kept reading. Some people were saying, you got to keep going now. It's the time. You got to take the classes. You got to, like better yourself. You got to do all these things. And all she wanted to do was just like uh, binge on Netflix. And one of the things that I really feel this year specifically, um, it was an invitation really to go within, for one, right? We're such a society of do and do and and really not enough beingness, right? So I think 2020 pandemic, whatever you want to call this, was a call. And it's so interesting, every time I'm either doing a session or an interview, always comes back this always comes up, like, this year has been the year of coming home to the self.
mm,
And I was telling her that, um there, with especially there's so much grief this year, right?
mm-hmm,
So many people have lost so much. Either they lost their jobs or lost a loved one. A lot of people died this year, not just from just COVID alone, just suicide or other illnesses. It's been crazy how many people have passed. So there has been this sense, and plus grieving the loss of a dream that you may have had this year. Like if you were getting married, a lot of kids missed out on the graduation. Or so um, I really feel that one thing that we don't give enough time to ourselves to do, and I think it also impacts our mental health, is giving ourselves time to grieve.
wow, I think that's so spot on. Yes.
Grieve the loss. Not, maybe you didn't have a personal loss, but the world has a lot of personal loss, and you may be feeling it and you may not understand, like, okay, well, I go outside, everything looks fine, I may still have a job, I'm healthy, my kids are healthy, but still I'm feeling this and I don't understand what's happening. But it's like, take some time to take a breath, take some time to actually look at, like I was saying, like, you don't have to participate in the chaos, but that doesn't mean that you don't get to witness what's happening, and you don't get to actually, uh, right, be a witness, but also understand that you get impacted energetically, even if it's not directly, but the energy of what's happening, right? So being able to just be okay with, and I have to remind this myself, because my kids are doing virtual learning right now, and sometimes it's kind of like, come on, you only have 3 classes a day, you shouldn't be struggling with doing your assignments, right?
Mhm.
But even with kids, especially, their lives have turned upside down, but we want things to keep going, to keep moving, to keep being how they were, without understanding that, like, when you lose a loved one, you have to take that time to grieve, right? You
Mm,
have to take time to be sad and to honor the feelings that are coming up, and so to try to move past it without acknowledging it. You don't have to live in it, but acknowledge that it's there. Acknowledge that when you feel sadness, that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. That you're just a human being having this human experience right now. It's a collective experience.
right.
So it's okay to just want to take a breath, and you know what? Maybe this week I don't want to focus on this project that I had or this goal that I had, or but because on it, acknowledging and honoring the space you're in is what's going to help you move to a different space
Mm, mm.
where you're now kind of like, okay, I gave myself time to grieve. I'm okay with it now. Now I'm ready to roll.
Wow, yeah. And versus if we keep overriding that need, whether we feel that we just have these low feelings or even tiredness or different things that might be part of,
Mhm.
right, instead of letting ourselves feel it, we're going to keep pushing it aside, and then it might overwhelm us more, and there might be a momentum to it too, right? If we
Yes.
don't give ourselves space to honor it. But like you said, then it gives us a chance to move to what's next if we just let ourselves feel it and be with it. And yeah, and really to honor that our kids are probably feeling that on so many levels, whatever way life changed. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, wow. And um, wow, I'm just like having a pause on that. You've been doing a lot more, it looks like, of your, I would call it your even, I would call it your spiritual work, right? Where you get to tap in for others and connect with your guides and such in ways that you like to. Do you want to talk about that experience and like why
Mm.
sense of what's going on there?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'm an intuitive, but I'm doing a lot of channeling work, which means channeling basically means is you channel information or messages from source, divine. I call it, the beings of light. Um, Basically, the way I do channeling is I do direct channeling. So I allow for these frequencies to come through me, and they use my voice. Um, to channel through. And I've been doing this for 10 years now, and it's such a loving experience. And so I kind of go back and forth a lot because it takes up a lot of energy to do this work.
Mm,
But I noticed that when I do the work to be in that kind of vibration and connection with the divine, and
mm,
I can be that conduit for other people, I begin to expand my own consciousness, right? I'm more able to actually be on this earth without wanting to leave this earth. And a lot of people talk about 5D and moving from 3D to 5D, and I find that such an interesting conversation because a lot of people believe that 5D is about, accessing other realms and like just kind of living from the headspace. And to me, what especially what my guides have been saying is that, yes, of course, it is about expanding the consciousness, communicating with the other realms, all that kind of stuff. It's more about in like psychic abilities.
yeah.
But 5D is expanding the consciousness so that you can actually live on this planet.
Yeah.
Not about like expanding consciousness and exiting, where maybe in the past where monks would go meditate in the mountains, that's great. But the work is done when you're actually in relationship with other people.
Mm,
So expanding your consciousness, not to spiritual bypass or not to see yourself as better than anybody, but to come again, like I'm so about all of us being the frequency of love, like divine love. That's how we're here to experience that, right? So to expand your consciousness enough that you see yourself, experience yourself as this divine love, and you can have these relationships with people where is it going to be easy? No. Are people going to agree with you? No. You're going to have experiences, but your level of compassion, right? Your level of care, your level of kindness expands. And that's what this world so needs right now. We've been so stuck in the solar plexus, right? It's like my power, my personal power, me, which is the solar plexus is about the personal power. But when it's out of balance, it's all about me.
Mm,
And we're learning to move to the heart chakra. And the
mm,
heart chakra is all about union and communion with others and community and gathering, which is, I find it fascinating that we can gather this year, but we're finding human beings are so about connection that we're finding ways to connect with each other. Like, F you, COVID, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to keep us apart. We're still going to find ways to communicate. And I really feel like it's teaching us, it's showing us how about like dependent origination, right? We can be unique and be our own selves, but we're interdependent.
mm,
And so yeah, so this work that I'm doing, especially now, like I said, I didn't have the energy really. I had to focus really go back in myself and just kind of clear a lot of stuff that was going on and focus on my healing. But once I was able to get that, like, okay, I'm ready to go back out into the world and be the love that I'm here to be and use this gift that I have. I don't call it a gift, it's really an ability. This ability that I have to be a channel and to be a conduit of healing energy, love, messages, whatever, from the universal collective that's here to guide us, not to be better. They're not better than us. They're not, greater than us. They're really here to bring us back home to ourselves,
mm,
you
mm.
know?
That's a clear way of saying it. And it does seem like it's becoming more and more, I want to say important, although that probably isn't very spiritual to have this urgency about it.
Oh,
but
it's very urgent.
but it feels like it's becoming very important to root into that sense of spirituality and connection and union, especially now, in order to not only just not feel broken or crippled by it, right? But to
Mhm.
be exactly what you're saying, to be able to bring in that energy that could be so transformative. Ooh, yeah, it's powerful.
Mm.
But I mean, do you feel like there's this urgency, or do you feel like we could be more in a sense of like, well, somehow, some way, it's all going to be okay? Or do you think it is like we need to like be intentional and take it seriously? This like the ways that our union can help. It's kind of an interesting question, but
Yeah, that is a good question. And personally, I believe there is a sense of urgency.
hmm
We are at a precipice right now. The evolution is going to happen regardless, whether we want it or don't want it. Mother Earth know what it needs or what she needs. And trust me, like, the earth itself is going to do whatever the earth is going to do. So do we want to go along and understand that we're part of the earth, that our physical bodies are of the earth, and do we want to commune with that
mm.
and help each other actually live on a healthy planet? Or do we still think that we are at the top of the food chain and it's all about me and what I want, and screw everybody else, and we're all doomed because we're all stuck in me instead
Yeah,
of the we?
uh, yeah, and I love that I feel like your teaching of spirituality, and especially what you're talking about right now, is that it's about bringing it into physicality and reality, and really being more present than ever, not about just stepping aside and letting things happen and um, vacating the scene, right? Like kind of the older version of spirituality where it was like, oh, I'm going to just beam out or beam up and let this all happen, play out, but and instead it's like we're beaming it in so we can be an influence, right? Too,
Yes.
because here as part of that, right? Like we are a part of it and we can have an effect. So yeah, I really like this maybe modern, I don't know if it's modern, maybe that's what the spiritual teachers were always saying, but for a while we took it as it's about disconnecting
Yeah.
from the world and the physical in order to be divine. And we're seeing it's the opposite. To be divine is to really be in it and like see how much we can bring that into the world, right? So,
Yes. Beautifully said.
yeah, well, and then it's interesting how our contrast, right, or our challenges, our inner stuff we look at and face is part of that connecting too, right? It's not taking us away from our spiritual connection, but often what creates it for us, right? Our
Yeah.
hardship and our even suicidal moments may be when we actually get even more connected in ways, hopefully,
Hmm.
uh, redeciding we want to be here, right?
True.
Wow. Well, that was an easy, amazing 30 minutes. Is there anything that you would still like to say or add on any levels?
Can I do just a little short channeling?
Absolutely. I'm always up for that. And I'm not strict on time at all. If you have to,
Okay.
let's do it. Heaven, yes. Whew.
Thank you. I just feel like my guides want to like participate. So.
That's part of what I was asking. Because,
Okay, so for those who don't know, like when I channel, sometimes my voice will change and I sound like an older man. I don't know. So just bear with it. And they always refer themselves as we. So that's why if I start going into the we-ness, that's what it is.
mm,
Okay. Hello, 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 dear ones. We are here. We're here. We're here. We're so very grateful for the invitation to be here with you today. And we wish to say to you that there is just so much evolving on your planet right now. And even though you look on the outside and you look at the news that you see and things feel or seem like they're all falling apart and you wonder, well, what is going on here? And I don't want to be here. It's uncomfortable. We say to you, please do not be bogged down by what you see or what is being shown to you or told to you, because really what this is an invitation for you to come back to your own wisdom. You have a wise system within you. All of you who are on this planet came already with this built-in system. Understand that you may have lived many, many lives previously. And so you hold within you not only the imprint of your ancestors and their knowledge and wisdom, but you also hold the knowledge and wisdom of your own past lives. And so to think that you are powerless in the face of all that is happening or seem to be happening on your planet is a mistake, we say. So it is important that you come back to yourself. And when we say come back to yourself, we do not mean come back to the center, to being self-centered and only thinking about what you want and what you need, and only thinking about yourself and the ones you love. We are specifically speaking of coming back to your own self, center of self.
mm,
So the center of you that is unchained and unbound by the mental egoistic way of perceiving life. Understand that the mind is very important and the mind is perhaps a beautiful thing. Yet the mind is here to serve the soul. Some of you call the soul perhaps the heart, to serve the heart. And however you choose to say it, it is okay, but the mind is a servant, not a master. So what you're all perhaps coming to understand is that you can master your mind and not the other way around. Do not let the mind master you. And of course, this is being said in many teachings in the Hermetic principles. It is in Buddhist philosophy. It is in Hinduism. And it's in various teachings. And this is simply a law, you could say, or a philosophy, if you wish. But truly, the soul some may call it a different thing, but your divine essence, the beingness that is not bound or attached to the human reality, that is what conscious expansion of consciousness is. When people think of going into this 5D reality, some people think, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to be able to communicate with these other realms, and so I'm going to forget about this earth. That is a incorrect way of looking at this passage. Experiencing 5-dimension reality means experiencing yourself as divine love, as oneness with the all, and seeing that in your brother and sister, seeing that same capacity for love and compassion and divinity within them, and being able to live on your planet in communion with all that is here and with everyone that is here. So, beloveds, we say to you today, take this time. There's only but 2.5 months perhaps left of this year that so many have found so challenging. And it is not to say that it's going to get much better, but the more you come back to the center of self, the more you come back to your wisdom, the more you let go of what is being fed to you that is not true reality, the more you are going to be able to be of greater service to this planet. And so at this time, we wish to do a energy imprint if you're open. And if you're not open, that's okay. You can just say, I do not wish to receive this, and it will not be delivered to you. But for those of you who are open, you can just say, yes, I am open to receiving this energy transmission.
Yes. I'm energy transmission.
And so if you may just close your eyes and breathe as we do this. Hãy cái nỗi này hey mi ai chứ mi hơi cái nhé nhưng mà ui cả mi hay tuổi hey cái mình sai rồi he nó đi hả yo nè hush yeah oh mi thôi đấy không chụp mình cái hậu 이 로디 호이라미 저거리요 아스카라히 호이도 가다요 이 소리야 버래 호야카나 오에 오해 카노 우시 하 오네메로에 오 이라사야 사히에 오 어디로 해요 좀 이렇게 해요 어제 그래서 오 제디게 我是哦，我就这个做爱好，Understand, beloveds, that this is perhaps a language that is not known to you as you understand it, as in this way that this channel speaks right now in this language that you call English. But it is an energy imprint that comes from all the collective energies of your planet Earth. So you can say that this is the language of the mother, the native mother of this planet. And she embraces you in her love. And she invites you to commune with her. She invites you to see her as your mother. Allow her to care for you. And allow yourself to be loved by her as you love her back. And you love all her inhabitants. All the creatures that are here. The flora and the fauna. And each other as humans. We love you, we love you, we love you. And we're so grateful that we could do this with and for you. Goodbye for now.
Mm. Whew. Whew. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was cool. Oh, and I could really feel that. You were doing that energy. What did you call it? Or I don't know if you know. Remember what you say
It was
out. Like,
divine transmission or energy transmission.
that was so cool. Wow. Thank you so much for that through.
Thank
Woo.
you. Thanks for being open to receiving.
Exciting content here. Like,
I
wow.
know. I told myself because I struggle sometimes with the things that come through. I'm like, oh, what are people gonna think? It's so weird. But I'm really allowing myself to just relax into being this conduit and not letting my mind get in the way. So
Thank you so much. I'm so inspired by that myself. And I totally have loved our conversation. Oh my gosh. Wow.
thank you. Likewise.
And well, anything else you want to say before I give you a chance to tell people where to find you if they'd like to keep following, and even they can do things like book sessions with you and things these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. I actually have right now through the month of October, because this is my birthday month.
Yeah.
I'm doing, like a 30-minute just reading for $30, which is crazy
Yeah.
because I usually don't, my prices are a lot higher than that. But I just figured, that's my way to contribute back to society. And I want people to experience this work. I want people to experience energy, and I don't want, money to be an issue.
Yeah.
So if anybody, wants to take advantage of that, you can email me, find me on Facebook. it's all, it's all good.
Great. Great. Uh, well, gosh, I'm so thankful to have you here, and I knew it would be magical, and it has been. So
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
keep meditating on the things that have come up here today. I know just they'll be swimming through my consciousness. So thank you, and
Thank
yeah, I'm
you.
sure anybody who takes this in will get at least something from it.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here with us. All right. Have a good one out there. Namaste.